She was dead on right
Good evening. Oh, yeah. Let's see, it should be on. All right. Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the Beloit City Council to order. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
All councilors are present. Vice President Keys is absent.
Thank you. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance. May we all stand at this time.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is special orders of the day. 3A is State of the City Address. President Anderson.
Hello, and welcome to our annual State of the City Address. As councilors, we wanted to take a moment to reflect on the last 2 years. 2 years ago, life as we know it stopped. Our city took crucial steps to protect employees and the public as best we could with the information available to us at the time. Information about COVID-19 changed daily, recommendations were updated, and our staff remained resilient throughout it all. We are here 2 years later, with it now being safe to remove our masks and at public gatherings. We wouldn't have been able to do it without our staff who stayed the course, the residents who received vaccinations, and the many medical professionals, including our own Beloit firefighters, who implemented vaccination programs to help reduce the risk of COVID-19 in our city. However, our community experienced great loss during the pandemic, including one of our own in the city of Beloit with the Beloit Police Department. Police officer Dan Daly, known to his fellow officers as Wolf, passed away in November due to complications from COVID-19. Overall, we lost over 100 Beloit residents to COVID-19 since March of 2020. At the beginning of this year, we also lost former Fire Chief Brad Liggett in 2022. We mourn this loss of life. Thank you to the Beloit Police and Fire Departments and other staff for continuing to work with this extreme professionalism during these traumatic times for your departments. Please join me in a moment of silence as we reflect on the lives lost in our community from COVID, other medical events, violence, and more. Thank you. As we're hopefully nearing the end of the pandemic, we turn to the future. A future of rebuilding and creating a community for the generations to come. We want to move forward. We look to build upon the successes in our community for an even more vibrant future so that our children and grandchildren can thrive. Financially, our city has been fiscally responsible with the available funding dollars. We're not rushing into any decisions, but thoroughly and carefully considering how we can best serve our community and future generations. We're leveraging grant funding to help move much needed projects forward. The city's grant applications have helped Beloit College to receive a $9 million Neighborhood Investment Fund grant to renovate the Morris Library on campus to house the new Community Outreach and Engagement Center. When combined with the existing programs at Beloit College, it is expected that the center will touch the lives of all 36,000 Beloit residents, especially those who are otherwise underserved. Our community development block grant funds, as we will learn more about later tonight, have focused on meeting the needs of our most vulnerable residents. We just received word that we're receiving $600,000 to help our residents replace their private lead service water lines. Our city staff are working diligently to introduce that program as well. We're working together with our community partners to provide new and enhanced opportunities for our youth. We now have splash pads at Vernon and Summit Parks for our children to cool off in the summer, free of charge. The city provided land the Boys and Girls Club new facility that will continue to serve our children for generations to come. The State Line YMCA has been able to reintroduce children's sports leagues like soccer, basketball, volleyball to help our children stay active and build teamwork and communication skills. Our own Parks and Recreation Division has created many fun opportunities to help build the quality of life right here in Beloit. The Beloit Dirty Dash was held in last August as a family event, and we look forward to returning it at its full scale in August of 2022. The inaugural Pumpkin Walk was held in October at Eagles Ridge Park and was wildly successful. In addition to opening the Edwards Ice Arena for open skate, city staff also maintained free outdoor rinks in Riverside and Vernon Parks. A significant improvement and opportunity for our community is the opening of ABC Supply Stadium. The stadium isn't just about baseball. We've been thrilled to see outdoor movie nights, ice skating, and more at the stadium. Whether you prefer the name Snappers or Sky Carp, we know that there will be a lot more opportunities for our community. And last fall, we had the opportunity to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Gateway Business Park. 20 years ago, ground broke on the development area. We have added $384 million in base value to the Beloit community in this district that started out with a value of $1.8 million. It has now been transformed into an economic jewel for our community with residential homes, a beautiful park with a walking path, a brewery, and many family-supporting jobs at companies like Carey, Amazon, Staples, and more. The success of the business park continues with construction currently underway on Spraytech Inc.'s building. We anticipate selling city-owned property soon so that Phoenix investors can create a 500,000 square foot industrial spec building in the Gateway. We've also received the exciting news that in 2021, Governor Evers approved the Ho-Chunks Nation plan to build a resort and casino in Beloit. We are hoping for final federal approval soon so that we can finally see dirt moving on this project this year. It's been a long wait, but this will be a huge benefit to our community. Residential housing growth continues in Beloit. In 2021, we saw residential building, including the completion of the first Wright and Wagner Loft apartment building near downtown and the completion of Hawks Ridge apartment complex. Overall, 126 units were built or under contract to be built in 2021. We continue to look for ways to increase our housing inventory. We've seen tremendous success in our tax incremental districts. We look forward to using some of that increment to help increase the availability of affordable housing in the area. Later on our agenda is the closure of 2 of those districts. That closure will provide welcome property tax relief for our residents and businesses. While there's plenty to celebrate, Beloit is not without its challenges. Our own high school students have experienced significant trauma and loss this year. We appreciate the work the School District of Beloit is doing to provide mental health support to those who have been impacted by gun violence. As a council and as a city, we want each of our students to know that you matter to us. Our Beloit Police Department did an excellent job in its community outreach events last week to talk about the serious problems facing our community and our nation as it relates to rising violent crime. Please continue to speak up and support our department's efforts to build a community free of crime. We also have continued to do work in regard to protecting our city's sustainability. The Sustainability Forum held last month provided many examples of how the city is already implementing environmentally sustainable practices. Our audience identified crucial priorities like purchasing electric vehicles for those cities' fleet where it makes most sense. That will provide tangible results for the future. The City Council joined the Green Tier Legacy Communities in 2021. We appreciate the work city staff is currently putting into documenting the internal baseline data for the scorecard. We look forward to growing as a sustainable city. In conclusion, I thank my fellow councilors for their continued partnership and leadership over the past year. I am proud of the impact we are making in Beloit as a team. It is never about us as individuals, but on our collective work as a whole, and I am confident in our ability to continue making Beloit an even better place to live, work, visit, play, and learn in 2022 and beyond. Thank you.
Item 3B is recognition of Noah Lundblade for heroic actions after being involved in a vehicle accident.
Hello, my name is Jason Griffin. I'm a deputy chief with the City of Beloit Fire Department, and tonight we truly have a true hero of the City of Beloit in the building tonight. I'd like to have Noah and Matt come on up and stand next to me, please. This is Noah and this is Matt. I know them very well. They in line, standing in school, picking up our kids. I'm able to talk to Matt every day as we wait for our children to come out from school. So I got to know Matt very well in the last year of the school. But one day he kind of told me about a story, and on this story, Matt and Noah, it was a beautiful day like today, and they decided they wanted to go on a little trip to the park. And on their way to the park, Matt wasn't feeling as well as he should be for some reason, and he really wasn't sure why. And when they got into the park, he ended up not feeling very well, and I think the last thing you remember was calling or getting on the phone and trying to call your wife, wasn't it?
I was trying to. I didn't get the phone call through. Can I ever come pick us up from the park?
So he goes to pick up the phone, and at that time he had a medical emergency. And during that medical emergency, he lost control of his car, ran into a telephone pole, and I think you broke it in half, didn't you? Ran into, and he was actually in a ditch kind of area where he ended up. And unfortunately, Matt was unconscious at that time. And little Noah here, behind Matt now, Noah remembers that when they were pulling into a park, there was a lady that was walking a dog, and he knew that there was something wrong with Dad and that he needed to make contact with somebody. So with this traumatic accident, Noah was able to crawl out of that car and was able to find that lady with that dog, and he was able to call 911, and he was able to give the information to the dispatcher so somebody can come and help Matt when he was in the car. So actually the City of Beloit Fire Department was responded. We were able to get Matt out of the car, and we took him to the hospital, and it ended up he had to go up to a little bit more care up in Madison. But the heroic effort that Noah did that day is a true hero. And from the City of Beloit and the City of Beloit Fire Department, we really want to recognize him for his heroic efforts. So Noah, I have a certificate for you. And in the certificate, it says, hereby presented to Noah in recognition of your act of bravery and courage. So in recognition of your father was having a medical emergency at an auto accident, your quick actions enabled necessary emergency aid to your father. And talking to Matt, if a lot of the medical doctors have said that if Noah did not crawl out of that car and get that phone call taken care of, Matt might not be around today. So this kid is a true hero, and we'd like to recognize him for his heroic efforts that day. So Noah, here's your certificate. It's got a little picture of Superman on it.
All right.
Oh, there you go. True hero. And then
You are a Superman.
and then tomorrow I get to visit his school and tell his classmates what he did too.
All
So it's
right.
going to be quite a day for him tomorrow. So congratulations, Noah. Look at that, Noah. Stand in the So, City Council, thank you for giving me this time to present Noah with this great
Thanks,
award.
Noah.
And the family, you'll have this the rest of your lives.
Yeah, no problem.
Item 3C is proclamation recognizing Miss Beloit and Miss Beloit's outstanding team competitions. President Anderson's going to present.
Kevin was. We volunteered Kevin for that.
Yeah, no, Kevin said,
Kevin,
I think my proclamation was taken away here. I'm gonna have to grab it. Haven't done these in a while, and I swear I left this up here. The official proclamation reads, whereas Miss Beloit has been a local preliminary in the Miss Wisconsin and Miss America organizations since the 1960s, and whereas the mission of Miss Beloit is to empower the bright young women in our community to be leaders and help them obtain a higher education. And whereas, in the last decade, they have awarded $102,450 to their candidates. And whereas, after 2 years of not having competition due to COVID-19, the pageant will return on March 26th. And whereas, there are 5 candidates vying for the title of Miss Beloit and 7 candidates in the Miss Beloit's Outstanding Teen. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Beloit recognizes Miss Beloit and Miss Beloit's Outstanding Teen competitions taking place on March 26th at 6 p.m. Presented this 21st day of March, 2022. And Schneider was going to be here. No, she isn't, but I will be giving this to her. And actually, I got to meet some of the contestants last week. I had to do mock interviews and did not know what I was signing up for. Shanita said it was a mock interview. I didn't know what that meant. Ended up interviewing the contestants. They're very bright, outstanding women. They're running a great organization. It was great to see so many bright women. And honestly, they're asked tougher questions than we get at the council candidate forums. So that was definitely impressive to see them answer those so quickly. So I will be getting this to Shanita. And if you have a chance, go see that competition and see the amazing talent we have in Beloit.
Where is it?
It's going to be at, I believe, at the high school auditorium.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We applaud the organization.
Yes.
Item 4A, item 4 is public hearings. Item 4A is presentation of the 2021 Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report for the Community Development Block Grant Program. Downing is presenting.
Yes, Deputy Community Development Director Terry Downing.
Hi, everyone. I feel like I just saw everybody at the neighborhood meetings. Okay, so a couple years ago, we started doing these CAPER year-end reports and showing results to the council. For many years, the council and CDA would dole out the money for all the programming, but then there was never really a presentation afterwards for the council and the CDA members to see, or the public, to see kind of what was done with those funds in the end. So that's what this is. This is going to be a little bit unusual this year because we got not one, not two, but 3 extra rounds of Cdbg funding because of the CARES Act. So we'll talk mostly about the public service programs, which are the programs that directly help people. There'll be some mention of the other funding that we do with Cdbg, and then there will be 3 parts. So we'll talk about the regular Cdbg funding, the 2021 Cdbg funding. We'll talk about the CV funding, which is the special allocations we received through the CARES Act, and we'll talk about the Narsa funding. There'll be separate tables for those. So if you have any questions, please stop me, because it's just going to be table after table. So, and then Eric was very confident I could operate this, but I don't know. Okay, so the first thing we'll talk about is the 2021 Cdbg funding. So the funding allocations, there are 5 different categories that we fund under. HUD requires us to fund by different categories, so that's how we've broken it up. It's a little bit easier to understand this way. So affordable housing, homeless services, case management, job skills, and to improve the housing stock. So it looks like my legend got messed up there, but so you can see that the most funding went to affordable housing, and the next was case management. Then I don't know what 13% is, I'm sorry, but then 11% is the homeless services, and 9%, I suppose by looking at the numbers I could tell it went to job skills. Now, just as a reminder, this is Cdbg, the regular funding, so that means for public service activities, all we can do is provide 15% of those funds to public service activities. HUD limits us from that. So public services, this is that 15% of funding. We awarded under 3 categories: homeless services, case management, and job future ready skills. And you can see the breakdown there. 42% went to job future ready skills, 35% to case management, and 23% to homeless services. This breaks it down a little bit further. You can see that, so each program that submits an application to receive Cdbg funding submits a goal that they're trying to meet. So how many people or households are they trying to assist with the amount of funding that they receive? So you'll see that the goals and then what they actually were able to achieve. So you can see that for the most part, the goals were met. Some of the future ready skills are less than what the goal was, but I think a lot of things kind of got pushed over into the homeless services with 2021 due to the pandemic. And then this is the ethnicity breakdown for Hispanic versus non-Hispanic, which is a reporting requirement that we need to do for HUD. So public services results by race. This is also something that we have to report to HUD every year. So you'll see the breakdown here of what the different races were that we were able to serve with the funding. And then the income, so Cdbg must benefit low to moderate income people. So you can see that 61% of our funding goes to the lowest income level in the community, which is 0 to 30% of the area median income. Is it county median income or area median income? County median income. 21% of our funds went to the next level, which is between 31 and 50% of county median income. 15% went to the 51 to 80% of county median income, and we did serve 3% between 80 and 100% of our county median income. So most of our funding went to that lowest income bracket. Housing activities, so this is outside of that 15% for the public service activities. The city of Beloit has a housing rehab loan program. We provided 5 housing rehab loans with no or low interest, deferred rates, grants, or forgivable loans. And NeighborWorks Black Hawk Region, formerly known as Neighborhood Housing Services, provided down payment and closing cost assistance to 2 low mod income households with Cdbg funding. These numbers are a little low, but I think that, well, with our housing rehab loan program, once a pandemic hit, it's been difficult for people to come forward and ask for help like this if they're needing help with basic needs. So thinking of fixing up your house at this time isn't really a priority for some people right now because it can't be.
Was that impacted by the inflated costs of materials that happened last year?
Was it affected by that?
Yeah, the building trades, there was a lot of material issues.
Yeah,
It would have
has been
affected a
by
lot of
that.
plans to do anything with anything.
Yes, it has. It's affected that. We also are having difficulty getting contractors to bid on our projects. Thank you. Getting contractors to bid on our projects for a couple of reasons. One, there just aren't a lot of contractors that are willing to take on or that are just in the area. We're sharing our contractors with the city of Janesville too. And then the other issue is that some contractors for the bigger jobs are hesitant to put in a bid because the rates are going up so fast and so quickly with the building materials that when they put a bid in now and they're going to get paid out in 6 months, you know, they're worried about that. So some of them are, you know, taking other jobs besides ones that, you know, take so long. So it's been difficult. Code enforcement, we do fund a portion of our code enforcement program with CDBG. So code enforcement citywide, we did 5,644 inspections on 4,965 units. The low to moderate income neighborhoods, that's what LMI stands for. You can see the amount that we did there, a little over half of those units were low to moderate income that were inspected. The map that you see is our code enforcement map. The different areas are our different inspectors. We only have 3 inspectors right now that inspect the city. Not inspect the city, but that have areas that do exterior. We do have 1 inspector that's full-time for multifamily units and a fire inspector, but she doesn't have an area of her own. So the hash marks that you see on the map, those are the low to moderate income areas. So any inspections that the inspectors do in those areas, we can fund with CDBG. So on their timesheet, they just keep track of how many hours they spend in those areas, and then we can fund that with CDBG funds. Now we'll talk about the Narsa funding allocation. So I know we have an audience here that may not know what Narsa stands for. So Narsa is a Neighborhood Revitalization Strategy Area Plan, and that is a separate plan that is attached to our consolidated plan, which is the 5-year plan for CDBG. What a Narsa plan allows us to do is it allows us to carve out neighborhoods or census tracts that need additional resources to help the residents there. So what it also allows us to do is, if you remember that I said we can only give 15% of our funds to agencies that do public services. If we have Narsa areas, this allows us to give more than 15% of funding for public services in those areas, if that makes sense. So we can go above that cap if we're serving people within those 2 Narsa neighborhoods. Our 2 Narsa neighborhoods are Census Tract 16, which is the Hackett neighborhood, and Census Tract 18, which is the Merrill neighborhood. So the next few slides will just be talking about the Narsa funding for that. So this is in addition to what I just talked about with the regular CDBG. So the Narsa funding allocation, we funded under 4 categories: affordable housing, homeless services, case management, and future ready skills. And you can see the breakdown there. Case management is the biggest category there. And if you remember, for 2021, as in years past, the priorities for CDBG that CDA and Council passed was case management. It had to be a component of their program in order for it to meet that priority. Case management has a lot better, if somebody has a case manager, there's a lot better, longevity in their assistance than if they don't have a case manager. The Narsa Public Services breakdown is homeless services, case management, and job future ready skills. So you can see that case management again is the biggest component there. And Narsa Public Services results, you'll see that we exceeded our goals in homeless services and case management, and then we were really close to the future ready skills. So I think that's good news that we were able to meet the goals that we expected, or that the agencies expected of themselves and that we expected for the funding. This is the breakdown by race for in the Narsa areas. And then this is the breakdown by ethnicity for the Narsa areas, and then the income for Narsa areas. Again, the biggest category, not category, but 64% of our funding in the Narsa areas went to 0 to 30%, so the lowest income bracket in those neighborhoods. The Narsa housing and other accomplishments, so we can fund Narsa, under the Narsa we can fund other things besides public service activities. So these are the things that we funded outside of the public service activities. So NeighborWorks, which we already talked about, we funded 2 households that received down payment and closing cost assistance within the 2 Narsa neighborhoods. The City of Beloit Housing Rehab Loan Program, out of those 5, 2 of them were located in the Narsa neighborhoods. City of Beloit Code Enforcement, that 3,578 inspections were completed in the Narsa neighborhoods. And then the neighborhood cleanups, we did do 2 neighborhood cleanups, one in Merrill neighborhood and one in the Hackett neighborhood. The Merrill neighborhood, it was hosted at Summit Park and the Merrill Community Center and the Beloit Historical Society. It was a little bit less, or it was a little low key this year because of COVID. So normally there's like a little, picnic, a neighborhood picnic where people can come out and play in the splash pads, and the police department comes out and cooks food for us, and the fire department brings out their trucks and stuff, but we couldn't do that because of COVID. But with the help of Community Action and Ashley really did a good job putting together how we could still have that neighborhood cleanup without having people risk their safety. Now we'll talk about the COVID funding, which we call CV. For short. So we got 3 rounds of COVID funding, CV1, CV2, and CV3. You'll see CV2, there's an asterisk there. That is state CDBG funding. So the CDA and the council saw the budgets for CV1 and CV3 because we received that funding directly from the federal government as based on a formula. The state received CV2 funding based on a formula for the whole state of Wisconsin. And then the cities could apply for funding through the state to get additional CDBG funding or CV funding. So that didn't have to go before council, that budget, because it was done at the state level. So HUD required CDBG CV funding to be allocated to alleviating economic hardships related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So it didn't have the flexibility that regular CDBG funding did. There are very specific things that we could fund with that. The activities that we funded were eviction, homelessness prevention, emergency food access, health and mental health services, and then small business assistance. This funding also didn't have that 15% requirement. It could all go for public services if we needed it to.
Terry, before you move forward, question, I see the dollar amount allocated, but do you have numbers of individuals that may have been helped?
Yes.
When we talk about eviction and homelessness, with that additional funding, or do you have numbers of individuals?
Yep. We're gonna go through those
Okay.
right after this. So this is just a breakdown of the funding that we received in each of the categories. So you can see that most of it went to eviction and homelessness prevention, with small business assistance next. A lot of our businesses, especially our small businesses in downtown, were suffering from not having, or struggling because they couldn't open. They weren't open. They didn't have business. So in order for them to pay their staff and to keep their doors open, we were thankful that we were able to fund WBIC to help those agencies. Next, we have the emergency food access and then health and mental health services. So before I go through these beneficiaries, I need to preface this with that the agencies haven't spent all their funding yet. So we're still spending this CV funding. So the number that you saw, Kevin, isn't expended down. Only about half of it probably is. Would you say half, Megan? About half. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at the numbers, because it was a big number, but not very many. It looks like not very many households were assisted, but that's because we're still expending it. And this was as of the end of the year of 2021. And this is the racial breakdown, which we're required to report for this funding as well. The ethnicity breakdown, and then the beneficiary income. Now you'll see with this funding, it's a little more equal between the 0 to 30, 31 to 50, and that is because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So you can see that not only the lowest income levels were affected, but some of a little higher income were affected as well. That's all we have for this presentation. Do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I just had a question. Just wondering, Terry, how would you, this year when I looked through it, I guess if you could explain the extremely low income, the low income, and the moderate income. If you could kind of just explain that a little bit, how that. I know it probably depends on the household numbers, but in looking at those numbers, for me, that was kind of new this year with the extremely low income.
Yeah, so
I
it's
don't know
based
if my
on.
mic was on. I tried to, okay, there it goes now.
So it was based, so county median income is a number that is given out by the federal government. They have every year a different, for each area. And then you're right, it is based on household size. So they have this extremely low, the low, and then the moderate income. And I think there's just more families nowadays or households in the extremely low category for a variety of reasons. But so it goes by household. So 1 through 8, I think it has in the scale, and then you can extrapolate from there if there's a larger family. So I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but they are posted on our website under the Housing and Rehab Loan Program, under the Community Development page. And then on our materials for the Housing Rehab Loan Program, and then the Cdbg application, when people or agencies apply for that funding, they're posted on there. I feel like I didn't answer your question, but did I answer it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then another question, how are we in comparison? I know we had COVID going on with the pandemic this year, but how are we in comparison to the last year?
That's a good question. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but I can pull out I should know it because I used the PowerPoint from last year, and but I can pull out the PowerPoint from last year and I can send it to the city manager or the clerk if you guys want to know that.
Thank you, Terry.
Mm-hmm.
Questions or comments? We'll open up the floor for a public hearing real quick and
Okay.
allow for some feedback. So at this time, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone wishing to give feedback, please step forward at this time. Second call. Third call. Public hearing is now closed.
Item 4B is consideration of ordinance number 3742, amending the zoning district map of the city of Beloit from PLI, Public Lands and Institutions District, to C2, Neighborhood Commercial District, for part of the property located at 1501 6th Street. Plan Commission recommendation was 6-0. This is the first reading.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen will present tonight.
So the land that is the subject of this request was conveyed from the city to the owners of La Mexicana grocery store in November 2020, after we discovered that there was some encroachment by the business, which appeared to have been going on for some time, onto vacant city land. So we did a plat of survey, which is included in the packet, which was used to legally describe the 5,150 square feet, which was shown as parcel A, that was conveyed to La Mexicana parcel. At this point, we put together an application to rezone it from PLI, which is Public Lands and Institutions, to C2, Neighborhood Commercial District, which is the zoning of the La Mexicana parcel. Plan Commission reviewed this on February 23rd and voted unanimously 6-0 to recommend approval of the zoning map amendment. This is really just kind of trying to clean it up so the parcel has one consistent zoning. This is on your agenda for first reading tonight.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose this item come forward at this time? Second call. Third call. The public hearing is now closed. Can I entertain a motion to lay this item over?
So moved.
Motion by Blakely, second by Preschel. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 4C is consideration of ordinance number 3744, amending the zoning district map of the city of Beloit for the properties located at 2317 West Forest Avenue and 1022 Frobel Drive from temporary R-1A single-family residential district to permanent R-1A single-family residential district. First reading.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen.
The City Council adopted ordinances annexing 2317 West Forest Avenue and 1022 Frobel Drive into the City of Beloit on July 19th, 2021 and January 18th, 2022 respectively. Each time that you approve an attachment ordinance, you assign a temporary zoning classification, and in this case, you assigned a temporary zoning classification of R1A Single Family Residential District. That ordinance also directs the Plan Commission to initiate a permanent zoning district classification for the properties. As staff to the Plan Commission, staff initiated that rezoning, and Plan Commission reviewed this item on February 23rd and voted unanimously 6-0 to recommend approval of the zoning map amendments. And this would keep the same zoning they currently have. It would just make it permanent. This is on your agenda for first reading tonight.
Thank you. At this time, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or oppose this item, please come forward at this time. Second call. Third call. The public hearing is now closed. Can I have a motion to lay this item
I
over?
so move.
Motion by Forbeck. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Levy. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5 is public comments.
We've reached the point of the agenda where members of the public may speak to council about items that may come before us or will come before us in the future. Council may not act on any specific request, but may refer you to a staff member if so needed. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks of council or staff. We ask that you complete a speaker form, but it is not required. And before we get to the in-person comments, I believe we have a few written comments.
We have 7.
Okay.
Dear Lori and City Council members, I want to thank you for considering passing a humane pet store ordinance in Beloit. Over 400 localities and 5 states have passed similar legislation preventing the sale of commercially raised dogs and cats in pet stores, and I am delighted to know that Beloit may soon be added to that list. Pet stores can only fill their cages every day with dozens of 8-week-old puppies of varying breeds by sourcing from puppy mills, which place profit over the well-being of their dogs. Public records show that pet stores in Wisconsin are not exempt from this fact. Puppy mill puppies are born into cruel and unsanitary conditions, taken from their mothers at just 7 to 8 weeks old, crammed into cages, and trucked across the country in close proximity to other stressed and sick puppies, and then placed in pet store cages to be handled by inexperienced staff and consumers. Overcrowding, filthy conditions, and lack of basic veterinarian oversight at these facilities lead to many health issues. For this reason, this is not just an animal welfare issue, as the financial and emotional cost of caring for these sick and improperly bred dogs fall mostly onto their new families. Wisconsin consumers who were promised healthy and quality puppies instead find themselves overburdened with hundreds or thousands of dollars in veterinarian bills, sometimes in addition to paying off third-party financing contracts with interest rates as high as 188%. If Beloit passes this ordinance, it will not impact the business's model of any pet stores currently operating in Beloit. However, it will save Beloit from any pet store industry bad actors who might seek residence in Beloit in the near future. After Illinois passed its humane pet store law statewide, advocates have seen significant movement from Illinois pet stores into neighboring states, and we do believe that there has been significant interest in Beloit. Passing this ordinance and passing it now will be a life-saving measure for many puppies and kittens, in addition to a well-needed protection for Beloit consumers and residents. Thank you again for your time and consideration. Nicole Brandel. Dear members of the Beloit City Council and Director of Public Works, I am writing to express my support for your initiative to address bank erosions along Turtle Creek. I take this opportunity to encourage you to think longer term and look into the possibility of extending the Turtle Creek Green Corridor south and east of Milwaukee Road to bring it closer to Leeson Park by considering acquisition of the property at 1413 East Cooley Road, which includes 11.2 acres between Milwaukee Road and Cooley Road along the east bank of the Turtle Creek. Turning this land into a native mosaic forest would fit under the city's comprehensive plan and spelled out in Chapter 3, page 57, which calls for preserving streams, drainageways, floodplains, wetlands, wildlife habitat, woodland areas, and other significant natural resources. B.2.b, and direct development away from the natural areas, drainageways, critical infiltrations areas, and floodplains to prevent future problems. B.2.c. The plan also calls for adoption of several policies, including preservation of natural corridors, B.3.a, improvement of access to underutilized resources such as Turtle Creek, B.3.b, protection of water quality, B.3.c, effective stormwater management, including minimization of erosion, B.3.d, protection of groundwater resources, B.3.e, and preservation of environmental areas that serve as corridors to wildlife, B.3.f. The plan also calls for development of urban wildlife management plan in collaboration with the Wisconsin DNR, B.3.h. Turning these 11.2 acres into a native forest would achieve all of the goals above and could serve as impetus to the development of said urban wildlife management plan. Imaginary available from the Wisconsin DNR show significant evidence that Turtle Creek originally meandered through the area now occupied by this property and was presumably straightened in the late 19th century to make this land arable. The process of restoration would require removal of drain tiles, strengthening the power lines, and addressing existing utilities to the house. However, the forest would grow naturally with the need of little human intervention and could serve as the basis for education programming with local schools, environmental groups such as the Friends of Welty Environmental Center, and Nature at the Confluence. Research by the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency suggests that forests are the main sinks of greenhouse gas, GHG emissions. They absorb 11% of total GHG emissions. To grow a pound of wood, trees need 1.47 pounds of CO2, the main GHG, and generate 1.07 pounds of oxygen in the process. An acre of tree grows 4,000 pounds of wood a year. These 11.2 acres would generate 44,800 pounds of wood per year, absorb 65,856 pounds of carbon dioxide, and give us 47,936 pounds of oxygen in the process. In addition, if this area was allowed to flood periodically, Map 7 of the Comprehensive Plan includes the entirety of the property of the floodplain. It can help prevent erosion and flooding further downstream, even on the Rock River and its banks. Precipitation has increased significantly in southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois in the last decades, and it's expected to continue increasing. However, it is more concentrated in fewer significant rain events. As a result, pressure on the stream banks will increase in the coming years unless we can alleviate discharge from the Turtle Creek into the Rock River during significant precipitation events. It can cause water levels to rise in our downtown area and cause significant damage to our infrastructure. Considering how much our community is investing downtown, the cost of a significant flood event can be astronomical. Adaptation to these more normal weather patterns can help us minimize costs to the community in the medium term. The weather events that caused the floods of 1973 and 2008 are likely to happen more often. I appreciate your leadership and attention to my comments. Sincerely, Pablo Toral, 1139 Eaton Avenue, Beloit, Wisconsin. Dear member of the Beloit City Council, I have previously, November 18th and March 7th, requested that you consider putting the inevitable serious flooding of the Turtle Creek caused by global warming on your agenda for action. My request had both a broader planning aspect and a very specific project issue. To date, the broader issue of developing a plan to mitigate flooding from Turtle Creek watershed seems to have been overlooked. I believe that meeting the future on purpose is essential with regard to effects of the global warming, and it is imperative that you get this on the city agenda in some form. Today, I ask that item 6C be removed from the consent agenda. This gives you opportunity. Ask the administration about the purpose of the contract. Following that, I also request that you ask when a Turtle Creek flood mitigation plan will be initiative. Thank you, Jeff Adams, 1640 Indian Road, Beloit. Good evening, councilors and city staff. This is Brittany Keys, Council VP, writing in as I am not able to attend in person or by phone this evening. While I am very thankful the status of COVID regionally has improved to the point where we could end the emergency order, I am hopeful that council will be supportive of an update in policy to allow for remote participation of councilors, commissioners, and committee members alike. Supporting this policy will help to optimize equitable participation and accessibility in local government from residents and elected officials. I appreciate there was a workshop and discussion of this prior to the meeting, and I am hopeful this will be acted upon in the near future. There are 3 other items I want to mention that would otherwise be part of my councilor comments. First, ARPA funding. There is a fair amount of confusion surrounding Beloit's ARPA dollars, and I believe this is because they have gone largely unused and not discussed. The city of Beloit still has approximately $15 million in pandemic relief funds, $7 million on hand with other half coming this summer, provided by the federal government to help communities recover from the stresses of the pandemic, invest in climate change mitigation efforts, and other qualifying projects. I've been asking since November for the council to have the opportunity to discuss the process, public participation, and emergency allocation needs in the public forum. Clearly, the council has not provided this opportunity. For the record, I have been requesting an agenda item or resolution since February 10th that would allow the City Council the opportunity to discuss emergency allocation of ARPA funding to support the next steps, Transitional Living Project. My second request received an answer of words, but no action. Since November, I have been reporting on the mounting traumas and family displacement of our community is experiencing and is a direct effect of the pandemic. I have also shared that many communities in Wisconsin have experienced similar trials to varying degrees and proactively acted to support those needing it most with emergency allocation of their ARPA funds. The more we delay discussion and support of these resources, the more trauma the most vulnerable in our community will experience. The leadership demonstrated by the Rock County Board is wonderful and commendable. They approved $3 million in support of the Next Steps Transitional Living Project for Beloit, anticipated to be about a $6 million project. They also approved up to $3 million in the form of a county-wide grant match program where Beloit is eligible for a 25% match for efforts addressing homelessness. Second item related to the Beloit City Councilors, adding items to the agenda per our city attorney. There isn't a written policy or ordinance that formally outlines how agenda items are added to this council agenda. The council president, as presiding officer, sets and approves the agenda. There are some communities that have a rule set by ordinance that permits 2 or 3 councilors to request an item to be put on agenda. Beloit doesn't have such an ordinance. Again, I ask those with the ability to please reconsider, waste no more time, and add the proposed resolution to next meeting's agenda, allowing the public to weigh in and councilors to discuss and vote on the merits. The third item, to the best of my knowledge, the SDB has 461 students identified as experiencing homelessness. Thank you all for your leadership in serving our city. Respectfully, Brittany Keys, Vice President. I write to urge the City Council and administration to act quickly on the appropriation and spending of ARPA funds to achieve 1. Transitional housing, since Rock County has passed a resolution for a set-aside, not an award, it is urgent for Beloit to work with Family Services to coordinate the fleshing out of their building and programs plans to demonstrate that they have or will be able to secure additional funding for the facility. So far, the city seems to indicate that it will delay considering ARPA proposals until June. I hope that you will reconsider your timetable in the light of the urgency of this project. Number 2, bike paths, especially safe routes connecting to our schools and neighborhoods within Beloit that have been disproportionately impacted by COVID-19. Minority and lower socioeconomic neighborhoods should be targeted. Number 3, prairie and wetlands between Milwaukee and Cooley, Turtle Creek and Spring Brook. The sale of the lot across the parking lot entrances between Milwaukee Road and Cooley Road present a great opportunity to create a green corridor. Turtle Creek previously meandered through this area, and Springbrook had a direct route to the creek before it was redirected to flow alongside the lot in order to better support agriculture in the lot. Flooding from the creek would create a surface sponge habitable to Miazic prairie. Conversion of the property to this proposal could reduce pressure on the creek further downstream and encourage natural habitat that would in turn make Beloit more attractive for native species and wildlife, healthy living, and residents and businesses both new and current. Steve Howland, 1617 Emerson Street. To whom it may concern, I am writing as a resident of Beloit to urge that the City of Beloit start spending ARPA funds to help address the many needs in our community. It's past time to begin using these funds. No more meetings. Time to start putting the funds into a community where they are greatly needed. Other communities are actively using their funds, such as violence prevention, youth engagement, homelessness, and affordable housing. Beloit is facing all of these issues and more. Specifically relating to housing and homelessness, I know that Rat County is planning to allocate funds to a transitional housing project or be run by Family Services. Having lived in Beloit for over 30 years, I know that Family Services has an excellent track record of meeting community needs. I would urge the City of Beloit to join the county in supporting this effort with ARPA funds. Sincerely, Jane Fossum, MD, 2777 East Ridge Road. Probably you've already heard that Rock County Board of Supervisors voted to reserve funds to help Beloit Family Services with forming transitional housing for the homelessness. How much of the city ARPA funding do you plan to contribute? Thank you for stepping up and making a difference. Sincerely, Jenny Hooplo. So our first in-person comment is, and I'm not going to say this right, Unicestine glass?
I'll go.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Dorothy Harrell, and I want to start with an aside because that's not what I came to talk about. But after the discussion this evening about whether or not the council could attend in person or call it in, it seems like you really like having people call it in when it comes to public comment, because it seems like a deterrent to those of us who come and show up in person, that we have to sit through the written remarks when we're here and ready to say what we came to say. So whoever was in charge of making that agenda, I hope you'll take a consideration and switch it around. It would be a lot more considerate for those of us who take the time to drive down here and sit through the meeting. I came to partner with Unistine, who'll be back in just a moment, to talk about ARPA, the funds, hoping that you'll have a meeting. I also want to appreciate what Clinton had to say when he was up here earlier about the activities that the city has brought in over the last couple of years to help our youth. It's great. We need more, and I'm really in favor of us having more, because one of the other things he said was we just still don't know the impact of violence and COVID, and we don't know the impact on those among us who are the most vulnerable, and that's our children. We have lots of people talking about the decisions that were made for kids not to go to school. We don't know what the long-term impact is on those children or their families. So one of the things I want to encourage you to do is, back in October, an article came out of the newspaper about Rockford and what they were going to do with their ARPA funds, and they were going to they were going to designate a portion of those funds to go toward the youth. And they said one of the things they wanted to do was improve the way the entire city, the whole city, the police department, the schools, social service agencies interact with young people. To me, that's a priority, a number one priority. It's not just the school district, it's not just city council. I would urge you to sit down as bodies, our elected officials. You're the ones that we elected. You're the ones who came to those forums and said what you wanted to do. Okay, now we'd like to see you take some action as it relates to our young people, and more things and more emphasis on them and their needs. I'm going to cede the rest of my time to Unistine Glass. Did she come back? Okay.
Good evening. My name is Unistine Glass, and I reside at 2035 South Mount Avenue in the town of Beloit. I reside in an area that, in my opinion, was carved out to ensure that black children of the neighborhood would attend Beloit public schools rather than attend the school in the Turner District. My comments tonight are on how I'd like you to consider using the ARP fund that has been allocated to the city of Beloit. The Beloit School District has an estimated deficit of $10.9 million, and it is my understanding you are seeking community input on ways to use these funds. The American Rescue Plan allows the fund to be used to close budget gaps. Therefore, I suggest a portion of the $15.2 million be allocated to the School District of Beloit to offset some of the district budget deficit. I understand the city and the school district agree that student resource officers are needed in the school to provide safety and security to staff and students. If this is the case, perhaps you can use some of the ARP fund to pay for the student resource officers. Therefore, the district can redirect that cost to other critical areas that they cannot afford at this time. The Lincoln Academy Charter School opened in September of 2021. Charter schools like Lincoln Academy diverts funds and needed resources from our public schools while having no oversight from the community and very little, if any, from the state. On a personal note, my husband and I have two daughters that are products of the Beloit School District. The eldest has held positions such as business area lead, and she is currently employed as an operations manager. The youngest daughter has held titles as supplier engineer, operation manager, corporate auditor, and her current title is supplier quality specialist. There are many examples of students, and specifically black students, who are successful graduates of the Beloit Public School District. So I am well aware of what Beloit School District has and can produce, provided we in the community do our part, which is make sure that all staff, all administrators, all school board members, and all city council members care about all students, not just some of the students. Again, I recommend one possible use of the ARP fund, which is to use some of the funds to close the budget gaps, the budget deficit of the Beloit Public School District. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
The next speaker is John Flighter, sorry.
Good evening, John Flighter, 416 College Street, Family Services. I am the Executive Director, Family Services, an agency that we like to note has been a part of the Beloit community since 1935. We've been thinking a great deal lately about our proposed Next Step Transitional Living project. As many of you know, with the support of many community members from varied sectors, we were able to secure the votes of more than 2/3 of the county supervisors for a resolution to set aside $3 million from the county's ARPA funds. Unfortunately, this award is not sufficient by itself to cover the construction costs for the Next Step Transitional Living project as we currently envision it. 20 apartments for vulnerable single parents with young children and an attached child care facility. We think this is a project long overdue. It is also a project in keeping with the intentions of ARPA funding. I'm not going to claim that the Next Step Transitional Housing Project will have the most significant benefits for the most people for the longest time. I think, however, that it will have the most enduring impact for those who participate in the project, and by extension, those with whom they come into contact, whether it be employers, neighbors, future landlords, other community members, or other children. We've intentionally focused exclusively on single parents with young children because we believe that minimizing the impact of traumatic events and ensuring strong early childhood cognitive development will help these children succeed in school and will help their teachers by not needing to devote to them disproportionate attention in order for them to learn, or for that matter, helping to decrease the amount of class time spent trying to work through the child's difficulties in learning. We're optimistic that our approach will go a long way in preventing what might be called the intergenerational transmission of poverty. We're also not going to attempt to claim that this is the most important project that you will be asked to consider. We do believe it may be one of the proposals most strongly aligned with the original ARPA intentions. We're going to note, however, that the county's $3 million set aside for this project is not guaranteed. As it stands now, there is no legal way to prevent the newly formed council from reassigning those funds, and I worry that a compelling argument in favor of their reassignment would be the observation that the county would be supporting a project located in Beloit for which there is no assurance that Beloit will contribute support. We are convinced timely support from the city of Beloit will, in fact, leverage these dollars, that it will move them forward from being reassigned to helping to make a significant and long-term investment in improving the lives of those among us who have been most neglected and negatively affected by the pandemic. We respect the difficulty of the decisions you have to make. We do not envy that. We are willing to share as much information about our project as we can to help you in your decision process. Thank you.
Next, we have Susan Adams.
I'm Susan Adams from 703 Milwaukee Road, and I am speaking on behalf of the Beloit League of Women Voters. So I would like to thank City Council President Clinton Anderson for meeting with League members on March 17th to introduce himself and to solicit ideas for the city's use of ARPA funds. We look forward to participating in the public hearings the city plans to hold to solicit residents' recommendations, and we'd be happy to help publicize those. This evening, however, I'd also like to speak on behalf of the League to the city's plans to stabilize Turtle Creek's eroding bank near the entrance to the Greenway just off Milwaukee Road. The Turtle Creek Greenway provides many benefits to the city's residents and supports the city's sustainability goals. The Beloit League, however, encourages the city to not approve a contract to stabilize the creek bank unless it is doing so in conjunction with a larger project that will decrease flooding using nature-based methods to the south of the Greenway entrance. In fact, an opportunity to do just this has arisen. The property between Milwaukee Road and Colley Road, opposite the Greenway's entrance, is available for purchase. We encourage the city to acquire this property and return it to a more natural state that will allow Turtle Creek to meander. The property would then act as a sponge, absorbing stormwater when significant rain events occur. It's far preferable than continuing to channel the creek between this property and the adjacent rail bed, as it is currently the case. As the city government is well aware, stormwater is a significant threat to Beloit and its infrastructure. Precipitation has increased in recent years in our area and is expected to continue. Beyond assisting with stormwater management, expanding the Greenway to Colley Road is consistent with the city's comprehensive plan regarding natural corridors, protecting water quality and groundwater, supporting wildlife, and attending to the mental and physical health of residents through access to natural areas for recreation and relaxation. Expansion of the Greenway would also support the continued beautification of the city and improve the experience of all who enter the city via Milwaukee Road. Whether a forest or mesic prairie replaces the current usage, upkeep would be minimal. Further, as the comprehensive plan explicitly warns against new building construction in the floodplain, expansion of the greenway makes good sense. ARPA funding could provide the necessary support. The League sees this as one step in increasing the city of Beloit's resilience in the face of climate change and increasingly frequent extreme rain events. We continue to encourage the city to take a comprehensive approach to sustainability and to enlist both experts and city residents in this work. These suggestions are consistent with the Beloit League's position on natural resources, as well as with state and national league positions on the environment and climate change. We hope the City Council will take advantage of this great opportunity. Thank you.
The next speaker is Greg Schneider.
Good evening. I'm the Reverend Greg Schneider from St. Paul's Episcopal Church here in Beloit, and the convener of the Commission on Creation Care for the Episcopal Diocese of Milwaukee. I live at 703 Milwaukee Road here in Beloit. When the city passed the Proclamation on sustainability, it made a promise to the people who live here to take action on sustainability for the city. Once again, the city has the opportunity to take action and benefit the whole community. I pray that you do not let this opportunity pass as you have others in the past. I encourage you to purchase the land off Milwaukee Road that runs along Turtle Creek to be used as a stormwater catch basin to prevent flooding further downstream and in the downtown area. Now, if the city would use the same process as the city of Philadelphia, this land would be a great catch basin for overflow. It would protect land downstream from flooding, but it can also encourage plant growth and become a large carbon sink and a beautiful recreational area at the same time. I encourage you to take meaningful action to reduce the city's carbon footprint, to increase recreational areas and support the tree and plant and bird and animal life in and around the community. The community also suffers from a lack of affordable, safe, and healthy housing, which impacts the lives of many of the citizens. I encourage you to not only support the Transitional Living Project, but to begin looking at the entire community's housing situation. Now, the GBEDC or the city manager should be able to take any prospective business leader coming to Beloit and drop them off in any neighborhood in the city and get the same results, that this is the community that they want to build their business and they want to live. That is not the case now. We need to look at that. If we want to be a sustainable city, we need to begin taking that action. Please take your promise and your responsibility as the leaders of the city. Take that seriously, to carry forth on what you have promised, but to involve the citizens of Beloit to work together to make Beloit even better and make us Beloit proud. On a personal note, the school district has been asking to meet with you, the city council, for a long time to begin working together to serve the children and families overcome the traumas that they experience while living in Beloit. These are the same traumas that help prevent them from focusing on their ability to learn in school. The schools can handle a lot, but we can't solve the issues of the community alone. We need the city's help to do that. I encourage you as soon as possible to begin those meetings to just talk about how each can support the other to make again Beloit proud. Thank you.
Tom Finley.
Good evening. Tom Finley, 1740 East Ridge Road in Beloit, also owner of the Finley Buick GMC, the car dealership out on Milwaukee Road. I've been involved with family services for over 20 years personally with their board of directors and have served many, many positions on them. And they're applying for this ARPA funding to help with future projects and future housing in the community. And really what I want to talk about is their ability to do this. Family services, when people come into their different programs that they have, they're not just about making them safe for a couple days and then moving on down the road. They're about changing their lives. And they have a lot of experience with changing people's lives and try to give them the skills that they need to move forward and actually provide for themselves. And so often if you just say, well, we got you in a safe place and we're gonna be good for you for 6 weeks, you really haven't done anything. And so the Transitional Living Program is a very, very ambitious program, but can have some very ambitious results. You know, the ARPA funding, it sounds like a tremendous amount of money, and it is. The problem is, as you start working with those dollars, they're gonna go really fast. And you're gonna have a lot of good things that come to it. But this is something that I think can really help people in the long term. And it's, as John mentioned, it's not gonna help hundreds of thousands of people, but the people it helps is gonna be worth hundreds of thousands to them. So I really appreciate all of you serving on the council, and you're taking your personal time and the effort that it takes to do this. And good luck on your decision. Thank you.
That was the last one that submitted a form.
Thank you. Would anyone else who didn't speak tonight wish to speak at this time? Second call. Third call. Public comment is now closed.
Item 6 is consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which the event will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Would any council member like anything removed from the consent agenda?
I would
Mike,
like 6B, C, and D removed.
the mic.
It's not, oh, now it
Oh,
works.
yeah.
It didn't work at first. I would like to remove item 6B, C, and D.
Okay, items 6B, C, and D have been removed from the consent agenda. Would any council member like anything else removed from the consent agenda? If not, the consent agenda consists of items 6A and 6E. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Preschel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Forbeck. Any discussion? Not. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 6B is consideration of Resolution 2022-057, acknowledging receipt and review of the 2021 City of Beloit Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System Annual Report.
And Bill Frisbee will give a presentation on this item.
Good evening. The City of Beloit's a holder of a municipal separate storm sewer system discharge permit from the Wisconsin DNR. That permit has 6 minimum control measures: public education, public involvement, illicit discharge detection elimination, construction site runoff, pollution prevention, and post-construction stormwater runoff. And that includes both quality and volume. Each year, the city has to submit a report to the DNR by March 31st that details the all of the things we've undertaken in the previous year towards permit compliance. One big partnership we have with this is with the Rock River Stormwater Group, and that's for our public education and public participation programs. It's a partnership of a lot of local communities within the Rock River Basin. So City of Beloit, Town of Beloit, City of Janesville, Fort Atkinson, Whitewater, Watertown, and a couple of others, as well as the UW Whitewater. And we have partnered with Creative Marketing Unlimited, which is the student marketing group at UW-Whitewater. We fund their program to help us develop public education and involvement programs. So the report that was provided to you details all the events we did last year, and we are currently in compliance with all permit conditions. So if you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve? Motion by Levy, second by Blakely. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Item 6C is consideration of Resolution 2022-056, awarding Public Works Contract C21-09 Turtle Creek Bank Restoration.
And Scott Prindiville is here to present tonight.
Thank you. This is a resolution to award contract C2109 Turtle Creek Stream Bank Restoration. This is a project to restore and stabilize approximately 500 feet of eroded stream bank along Turtle Creek that runs parallel to a heavily utilized trail. This is a project to stabilize that bank. This does not involve straightening of the creek. It does not involve channelization. It's simply protecting that bank in the state that it currently sits. It's on the outside of a curve. We're going to be doing this in the most natural and aesthetically pleasing way possible. We will be placing riprap along the bank. So the area from the natural water line below will have riprap. Above the natural water line will be backfilled with topsoil, erosion control blanket, and planted with deep-rooted native vegetation. So once that all takes, we'll have a nice natural-looking stream bank. This project doesn't do anything to affect the flood elevation of Turtle Creek, either positively or negatively. It's just stabilizing that bank in that spot so it doesn't continue to erode towards our recreational path that exists in that greenway. The project is $121,402.20. You would be awarding it to RES Great Lakes LLC. This project does have a grant portion associated with it, so we're leveraging DNR grant funds. 50% of it will be reimbursed through the grant program. Any questions?
Thank you. Before we have any questions, if any, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Preschel. Second by Blakely. Any discussion?
Yes, please.
Start with Blakely and then go to Preschel.
Scott, I just wanted to reiterate what you already stated in other words, that passing this resolution will just maintain the bank as is and will not interfere with any future projects that might even go further in the ecological area.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I just had a question. This has been a problem for 3 years, if I recall right, as far as that we moved the path away from the bank because the old path just was gone, as I recall. And it seems to me like it's been in the works for 2 or 3 years or more, maybe, waiting for funds to become available. I think part of it was the grant application and COVID got in the way.
That is correct.
Okay.
And this will allow us to reopen that section of the trail that has been closed.
I was out last spring and took pictures of the eroded bank, and it was quite a shock to see it because I had not been back there for a while because it had been blocked off. The path was still being worked on at that time, before that time. So I just want to make it clear that this is just something that's been ongoing for some time in our planning stages, and we finally got to the point now where we're going to get it done.
Yeah, and the other thing that I'll mention is this project is being permitted through the DNR.
Thank you.
I think City Manager Luther had a clarification.
Well, I just wanted to add that, in fact, the erosion that's taken place to date does cause some potential water quality issues and does potentially have sediment and suspended solids being washed downstream. So this particular project, although it is not going to resolve any future flooding issues, that was not the intention of this specific project. It was to stabilize this portion to make this a usable pathway again and to prevent that erosion from continuing down into the waterway. This project, in support of this project, also doesn't negate or prevent us from looking at other options that may be available to deal with future flooding issues, and I would tend to separate the two topics.
Thank you. Councilor Duncan, did you have something?
I just wanted to make sure that as we move forward with this project, okay. I just want to make sure that as we move forward with this project, that the residents are made aware of what's occurring. I know we have our Sarah Locke, who's our communications manager, but just make sure that they are aware of what's happening there.
Yes, I can work with Sarah to make sure all the updates are going out.
I got some pictures.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 60 is consideration of Resolution 2022-044, authorizing an amendment to the 2022 schedule of fees, charges, and rates for the city of Beloit.
And a new face for us, Will Leader.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just want to bring up, looking to start an initiative partnership with Welty Environmental Center and the city of Beloit, teaming up to offer compost bins for sale. These 55-gallon bins are distributed by Recycling Connections of Stevens Point and are manufactured in North America from recycled plastics. The public will be able to pre-order the bins for pickup over 2 dates, in late April and in early May at the Beloit Public Library. During these pickup times, Welty will run 4 15-minute demonstrations on composting strategies and answer questions about the process. Anyone is welcome to attend these demonstrations. No purchase is necessary. Bins can be ordered online on Welty's website or by using a form that can be downloaded and sent in with a check to the Public Works Department. On a positive note, Rotary Club of Beloit has generously sponsored 10 bins for Welty to share with area service organizations who are starting their own container gardens, and is providing the funding for the demonstrations and an informational brochure.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Motion by Levy, second by Forbeck. Any discussion? Yeah, Councilor Forbeck.
Well, I just want to say, I'm thrilled with this. Thank you. One of kind of my gifts from one of our 7 children was a composting system this Christmas. So they're going to be very proud of the city for working with us. So well done. Good partnerships.
Councilor Duncan.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what was in the staff report, that this partnership is a great opportunity for our residents and employees to support and improve environmental sustainability, and that was something that we heard a lot from some of the residents that were here earlier that gave public comments. So thank you for that.
Further questions or comments? Yep. Well, yeah, I think Councilor Blakely is referencing, you being new. Yeah. Yes. Just real briefly, could you just, tell everyone who you are and what your new role is with the city of Beloit?
Yeah, obviously my name is Will Leader. I'm Director of Operations for the Department of Public Works. Sorry.
Thank you.
Being with the city now, coming on 6 months, and I've appreciated my time through the snow season. It's been a delightful snow season, so thanks. Keep this weather up.
You got an easy one this year.
Hey, calm down. Cheers, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Cheers, thank you.
Well, if there's no further questions or comments, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 7 is licenses. There are none. Item 8 is ordinances. 8A is consideration of ordinance number 3736 to amend sections 1.79, sub 5, sub B, sub 7, sub E, sub 10, sub B, and 10C of the Code of General Ordinances of the City of Beloit pertaining to the Community Development Authority. First reading.
Community Development Director Julie Christensen.
In 2021, the Beloit Housing Authority received a corrective action plan in response to a 2019 Department Enforcement Center review. In this plan, it stipulated that the city must require that at least one member of the CDA has a financial management background. In addition, 24 CFR 964.415 stipulates that the membership of the governing board of the Housing Authority or the CDA must include at least one public housing resident. The city attorney prepared ordinance number 3736, and sections 1 and 2 of that ordinance address those issues. In the recently amended bylaws of the CDA, which were approved by City Council earlier this year, it states the executive director of the city of the authority is the custodian of the records of the CDA. Sections 1.7910C indicate that the city clerk is the custodian. Sections 3 and 4 of that proposed ordinance would correct that inconsistency between the ordinance and the bylaws. CDA reviewed this item on February 23rd and recommended approval of the attached ordinance. It's on your agenda for first reading tonight.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to lay this item over?
I do.
I'll second.
Motion by Forback, second by Duncan. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8B is consideration of ordinance number 3739, establishing various traffic control regulations on Cranston Road and Henry Avenue, first reading.
Scott Prindiville will present tonight.
This is an ordinance that's needed to update the city's index of special locations for the improvements that were performed on our Henry Avenue and our Cranston Road construction projects late last year. Cranston Road was from Milwaukee to Shopier, largely pavement, marking, and signage improvements. And the Henry Avenue project was from Riverside to Royce, involved street resurfacing as well as striping and pavement and signage improvements. This update to the index of special locations did go before the Traffic Review Committee on February 28th. They voted 6-0 in favor of recommending approval of this ordinance to City Council.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to lay this item over?
I so move.
Motion by Forback, second by Preschel. Any discussion? Councilor Duncan? No discussion? No. Oh, any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 9 is appointments. The individuals named below have been nominated for a seat on a city board, committee, or commission. Each nomination is subject to confirmation by the city council. Approval of appointment will be accomplished by one motion unless a council member requests to take up a nomination separately, in which event the nomination will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Can I have a motion to approve? Motion by Preschel, second by Duncan. Any discussion? Councilor Preschel.
I just say, Andrew Yonke is joining the Plan Commission, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
Yep.
He's got a boatload of experience, so he should be a good addition.
Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 10 is council activities and upcoming events.
Start with Levy. No report. Councilor Blakely.
Just a brief report. As a member, as the council's representative on Beloit Library Board, I come across some interesting things here and there that they're doing at the library. One thing that's going on right now is a retired librarian, Ms. Blake, is doing some research for the Beloit Historical Society, looking into cataloging all the old newspapers available, going all the way back to the 1850s. And I won't read it to you tonight because it's getting late, but from October 1850 in the Janesville Badger, they were full of praise for Beloit. And it's fun to look back at all of those things. And at some point, when we have an easy, short meeting, I will share some of them with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Duncan.
Thank you, President Anderson. First, thanks to each person who gave input in public comment this evening. Your voices were heard. And we had students that were here tonight, which is great. So it was wonderful to see them here, and I think we may have another one here. Next, I want to give my deepest sympathy to the families of Mrs. Anna Listenby and Professor Deborah Majid. They made a lasting impact into my life and in so many others. They've left a legacy that will last a lifetime. Let's keep their loved ones in our thoughts and prayers. Next, for my counselor activities. I attended the Greater Beloit Economic Development Corporation Board meeting and the Quality of Life Committee meeting. I also participated in the Ford NGL planning session with the School District of Beloit. Each of those meetings were held at the Beloit Public Library. We discussed plans and strategies that will help children and families in our city to have access to opportunities, resources, education, and a better quality of life. It's been really great to see so many caring people step up to partner and volunteer for the greater good of our community. That said, I want to mention that Nick Dismasses, the Beloit Public Library Director, and his staff at the library are doing a wonderful job. I saw all kinds of great activities happening while I was there. Some workshops were taking place in the other meeting rooms. A job fair was on site. People were using their computers, reading, checking out books, and stopping in to eat at the Blender Cafe. Also, there was an eloquent greeter sitting at the front door to welcome visitors, and the city bus transports right in the front of the building. I am happy that our city council is continuing to invest in our public library. In addition, I attended both community meetings hosted by Chief Sales and the Beloit Police Department last week at Hackett Elementary School and Merrill Community Center in the Hackett and Merrill neighborhoods. Kudos to everyone involved in the presentations and every citizen who attended. Public safety is crucial, and we have to work together in order to stop the random acts of violence that have been occurring. So if you see something, please say something. Also, I was the guest speaker for the Sharing of the Bread event at First Baptist Church. I had the chance to fellowship and meet some of the most amazing women. I talked about the civil unrest and divisive politics going on in our country and how we have to help lift one another up and love one another in order to make Beloit and our world a better place. So I want to give heartfelt thanks to Vivian Parker, the president of ABW Ministries, and their group for the invitation. Also, I want to thank the Unity Grand Chapter Foundation for their contribution in helping youth to further their education and their dreams. In Milwaukee yesterday, they awarded scholarships to some of our Beloit students. It is always helpful for our youth to receive funds for college, which will help to eliminate some of their debt once they're finished with school. So congratulations to all of them. This ends my counselor report for this evening.
Thank you. Councilor Preschel?
I'd like to commend the high school students who cleaned up Big Hill Park this last week. I love to see that. I participated in something like that 20 years ago, maybe, with my own son in high school when we cleaned up Hilliard Park. And I'd encourage anybody to, there's another group getting ready to do a litter walk through, I think it was Big Hill too, but I'm not sure if it was a different park. And they haven't been active in many years, so it's good to see them getting back together and doing something. And you can find them on Facebook. I think it's called Litter Hawking, Beloit Litter Hawking. Anyway, and then this weekend I'll just close. BJSO, the Beloit Janesville Symphony Orchestra, has a Latin themed, Latin Masterworks themed concert scheduled. The Saturday night performances at Janesville Performing Arts Center, and then a Sunday afternoon matinee at the Castle here in Beloit. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Purbeck?
I just want to mention that I also had a chance to join the people with the police information meeting about violence in our city, and I was able to attend the meeting at Hackett. And a couple things. First of all, the meeting was wonderful, and it had to take a lot of work for the police to pull together everything and have it in such an organized and clear presentation. So thank you. I also have to say, I'm sorry, what?
Nancy, I was giving a shout out to Sarah for her assisting the police department behind the scenes and getting that done.
Okay, Sarah, good work, honey. Absolutely. And then I also wanted to say that I think that it gave me a chance to be inside Hackett School and walk the long walk in that hallway. And I'm not kidding. Right now, everybody is so angry in the city of Beloit, and we're talking about our schools. And I just want to tell you just even the artwork and the papers and the little booklets that were out in the hallway. I mean, if anybody doesn't think that some great things are happening in our school system, they are totally wrong and totally ignorant. There are people working so hard, our teachers and our principals, to try to, really educate our kids. So that was an added kind of positive thing that happened. So thank you.
Thank you. Now to my comments. Recently, I got to tour community action with Representative Spreitzer and Lieutenant Governor Barnes. We also got to stop at the Fresh Start program with the students. They were doing a civics class, and they got to ask Lieutenant Governor a lot of cool questions. It was real exciting to see so many students excited to engage with him, and I was just lucky to be a bystander. Nobody wanted to talk to me. They wanted to talk to him. Very understandable. I also got to attend one of the community meetings at Merrill. I know Councilor Duncan, Preschel, and Levy were there. There's still another round of them this week. Please go out. I believe this one's on use of force and mental health, if I'm correct. Yep, Sarah's head nodding. She is saving the day once again. So please go check those out. It's good for us to have conversations with the public. It's good for our police department to be out there, and I'm very proud of the work our officers have been doing. They've been able to be very upfront and transparent with the results and information that they gave, and it was really eye-opening for us too. So thank you to them. I do also want to thank the folks who spoke today. I know we don't act immediately on things. We're not here just to do things on a whim, but I appreciate their feedback, and I know as we get closer to making those decisions, we'll definitely take their comments into consideration. Lastly, I just want to thank my colleagues and our staff that are still here. It seems like we're having longer meetings lately, so I don't know what's going on, but okay, well, we're gonna ignore that comment, Kevin. But just thank you to all of you for sticking it out and being a good group. It's great to come here, even if it's a little longer than some of us would like it to be. So, with that, I will end my comments. Thanks.
You got a gavel.
I've never used it. Okay.
Item 11 is city manager presentation.
So I don't have a prepared presentation, but I don't often have an opportunity to publicly embarrass my children. And since my son Colin is here for his American Democracy class credit, and he stayed past the 1 hour minimum, 2 students stayed past the 1 hour minimum. I want to tell you, extra credit goes to the 2 in the audience here.
Can we get him on camera?
yeah.
I mean, if we're gonna embarrass him, let's really, there's a way to get him on camera, let's
And
really.
just to be clear, your grandma in Kansas City is watching.
Okay.
Oh, boy.
I think we should give him a round of applause.
I
for
think we
sticking
should
it
get him
out.
on camera, I think. There he is.
Yeah, somebody woke Jonathan up there. Good. You're on YouTube.
Okay, item 12 is reports from boards and city officers. Item 12A is consideration of resolution 2022-030 approving the termination of tax incremental district number 10.
And Eric Miller will present both items that are coming up.
Oh, I've waited a long time for this.
Yeah, it's been a while. Since October 16th, as a matter of fact, 2000, which is when we opened officially TID District Number 10. And that opened with a base value of $1,763,000. We ended the TID in, well, technically January 1 of 2021 is the official assessment date, at $385,600,000 for a total increment value of $383 million. Clearly one of the most successful TIDs that I've really ever seen in, in my tenure here, of course, but even just among some of my colleagues around the state, it's pretty remarkable what that TID was able to do. We do have enough increment to pay off all the existing debt that is left in the TID. And we will be not certifying the TID in 2022, which means we will not collect increment in 2023, which then also means that this has a very profound impact on the overall tax base in the city, as well as the 2023 upcoming budget and tax rate. So as part of TID closures, state law says that 50% of that is to go towards tax relief. And so that's what we're looking forward to this coming year when we prepare our tax bills. So with that said, this will need a roll call vote tonight. And I'll take any questions you might have.
Before we start, can we just get a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Motion by Levy, second by Duncan. Now any discussion? Counselor Preschel, I'm waiting for you.
Well, I just want Eric to give me some projected numbers on the impact on our tax rate. And I know it's really, iffy because we're going through a citywide reassessment. There's lots of variables involved, but it's more than $1, isn't it?
It should be.
It
yeah,
should be?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to make any promises, but it should be. Yeah.
I won't be here to call you on it.
But a lot of other people will be. So.
But it'll be in the dollars,
It'll
not
be
in
a
the cents, right?
significant amount.
It'll be
Yeah,
in dollars,
it should
not
be a
cents. Okay,
significant amount.
that's my dream.
Yeah.
I've waited a long time to see this. And this includes the benefits of all the development up to including Amazon.
Oh yeah.
But it doesn't include the subsequent. Well, it includes all of them.
Everything as was completely assessed through January 1 of 2021 is what it includes. Yep.
Okay, so. Oh, that's right. We got to wait another year or two for the new stuff. That's right. There's always a little lag.
Since we're closing it today, it won't be any further increment beyond the January 1, 21 date.
Any further questions? Counselor Duncan?
I just want to say thank you, Eric, to you and all the. I just want to say thank you to Eric and to all the staff who presented tonight. You make it really look really easy, but I know it isn't, and I know that you put a lot of hard work into preparing everything for the meeting tonight. And so I read through everything and very thoroughly, and I just want to say thank you all. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Further questions or discussion? Not, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Okay. Counselor Blakely. Counselor Levy. President Anderson.
Aye.
Counselor Forbeck.
Aye.
Counselor Preschel.
Aye.
Counselor Duncan.
Aye.
Passes 6-0. Item 6B is consideration of Resolution 2022-031, approving the termination of tax incremental district number 12.
Okay, so not quite as big of a splash here. However, this TID was created in September of 2003 at a base value of $795,000. As of January 1, 2021, the increment value is $2,203,000 for a total of difference of $1.4 million. It wasn't as big as TID 10, but it wasn't designed to be either. It was specifically designed for a single parcel project that we partnered with a local company in order to do an expansion for their project, and it was, again, successful. It did what it was supposed to do, and that's what TID does. It allows us to do economic development projects where otherwise we wouldn't be able to do, and so it benefited everybody involved. This will be not certified again in 2022, so it will not have an impact, will not collect increment in 2023. And then it will also have an impact on the tax rate, not as significant again as 10, but it will provide some tax relief to the residents and will also have an impact on our 2023 budget. So I would welcome any questions on this one.
Before we do that, do I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion.
Motion by Duncan, second by Preschel. Any discussion?
May I?
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to take a brief moment and reflect on the wisdom of the city council, of people like Jane Wood, people that are still on staff like Julie Christensen, who touched the creation of this business park and these tax increment financing districts. They had the vision to see what could be, and we are reaping the rewards now. So, applause to all of them.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Counselor Blakely. Counselor Levy. President Anderson.
Aye.
Counselor Forbach.
Aye.
Counselor Pleshro.
Aye.
Counselor Duncan.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Confetti is falling from the sky. Item 12C, consideration of Resolution 2022-054, awarding Public Works Contract C22-03, Biosolids Drying, UV Disinfection, and Water Pollution Control Facility Upgrades.
Hello again. So this is the project we had a presentation on last time, major upgrade to the water pollution control facility. I'll just run through a couple of the major components again for everybody. The biggest one being a conversion to biosolids drying, requires the addition of a new building, a biosolids dryer, and a storage silo. That portion of the project is approximately $20 million. The big driver of this is changing weather patterns. We've heard a lot about that tonight. And currently we do land application of biosolids, and with rainier springs, rainier falls, we're having more trouble getting the biosolids out to the farm fields where we're able to dispose of it. Doing biosolids drying, we'll have Class A biosolids. We have a lot more end uses of it, and we'll be able to get rid of it all summer long, where traditionally we can't dispose of it in the summer because there's crops on the fields. Other portions include UV disinfection, reduces our dependence on chemicals, which better for the environment and also safer for our employees. And then we are upgrading our aeration blowers to high-speed turbo blowers, much more energy efficient, and that alone will have electricity savings of about $100,000 a year. We're doing lots of replacements of equipment, just pieces in kind. A lot of these are just due to being 30 years old. They've been well maintained, but they have reached the end of their useful life. Hard to find replacement parts, and we're just trying to keep them running, and they're just time to be done. About 35 years ago, the City Council had a great vision looking at the future for our wastewater treatment plant. We had a lot of problems then. We've had great compliance since. That's due to the investment and also the dedication of all of our employees. If you go out there and look, besides some equipment being old, we get vendors coming through, contractors coming through. They always comment how this place does not look 30 years old. So the investment that we're going to make if this contract is awarded will be in good hands with team members here at the city that are dedicated and value that investment and don't take it lightly. So the project was out for bid. We opened, I believe it was on March 3rd. We received 3 bids, the low bid being from Williams Brothers Construction out of Peoria Heights, Illinois. The base bid was $40.9 million. 2 other bids we received. One was from IHC Construction out of Elgin, Illinois. They were just over $42.8 million. And the third bid being C.D. Smith from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, at a little over $48.2 million. Along with the base bid, we allowed for alternate bids for several items. First one being a redundant centrifuge. This helps dewater the biosolids prior to going to the dryer. The base bid included one. We wanted to get a price for a second. It was $576,650. We are not recommending that for award. We have a lot of other alternatives. If our centrifuge goes down, we have enough storage where we can defer while we get maintenance done, or we'll still have our belt filter press where we could dewater. That would require us to go to a landfill, but worst case scenario, we still have that option. And the project will be still set up so we can do that alternate in the future if we need to. Alternate 2 is a sludge storage tank number 1 mixing upgrades for $905,000. This keeps the mixing tank or the holding tank mixed well, so we're getting a consistent biosolid to the centrifuge and dryer, which will help operationally to get a good end product, the Class A, reduce the amount of energy and polymer used to dewater. Alternate 3 was the installation of an additional blower. Base bid was installing 2 high-speed turbo blowers. The alternate was to install 3. This allows for a much greater range of use. We won't rely on any of our existing blowers. Currently, we have 5. 3 are unoperational, so we're just getting along with 2 right now. We are recommending awarding the alternate. Alternate 4 was tunnel dehumidification. It's just replacing that piece of equipment in kind. It's $190,000. A lot of electronics at the treatment plant. This helps keep it dry. There's a long tunnel that runs the length of the plant. And being underground in a tunnel, wastewater plant gets very humid. So just taking that humidification out of the air. Alternate 5 was UV gate actuators for $47,000. This can be deferred because we can still operate those gates manually. We just were curious what the cost would be. We only operate those gates about once a month, so we didn't feel it was worth the cost. Alternate 6 and 7 were both options for cleaning the sludge storage tank prior to upgrading the mixing system. We received a price of $543,150 for a landfill application where we remove all the remaining solids in there, take them to a landfill, or $410,300 for a land application of the remaining biosolids in the bottom of the tank. We are not recommending award of either of these. We feel that we can take that on ourselves as a separate contract and get that for a couple $100,000 less than those contract prices. So the base bid plus award of alternates 2, 3, and 4 comes to $46,236,342. We have $2,667,126 of construction-related services that were not part of this contract but have already are being under a separate contract with the engineering firm. This project will be funded $10 million from the wastewater fund balance, $5,584,782 in wastewater operating revenue between 2022 and 2024, $750,000 in Clean Water Fund principal forgiveness. The Clean Water Fund can't offer grants, but instead they offer principal forgiveness on loans. $750,000 is the maximum amount eligible. Focus on energy incentive. They offer incentives. That's the next item on here, but it's anticipated $50,000 of funding from them. And then the Clean Water Fund loan, or Clean Water Fund will match energy project incentives offered by Focus on Energy up to $50,000. So it'd be an additional $50,000 there. And the remaining portion would be funded through a Clean Water Fund loan of $32,668,686. We anticipate incremental rate increases in 2023 of 4.5% and 2024 of 4%. And then one thing that we ran across, a little bit of a timing issue, we're recommending that this award be contingent upon the review of the Focus on Energy incentive. So the review is a little longer than we anticipated, and we can't enter into the contract until they've officially made their offer of the energy incentive, which is anticipated to be 1 to 2 weeks from now. Last I talked to them on Friday, they were at step 1, and they said 1 to 2 more weeks to get to step 3. Normally it's just step 1, but because of the large value, it steps up to 3 tiers. So with that, I will take any questions.
We have a motion to approve.
I so move.
Motion by Corbach, second by Preschel. Any discussion? Councilor Preschel?
I have to comment that after the discussion of the TIFs before, if there hadn't been a sewage treatment plant 35 years ago, there wouldn't have been a gateway development, and there wouldn't have been a downtown redevelopment, and literally there wouldn't be an ABC stadium next door. And so these all things have ripple effects, and it was a tough sell making that decision back in the early 90s. I think it might have cost Dave Wilcox some goodwill here in the city as he left. But I just wanted to point that out, the ripple effects of all these things, these big decisions. And where would Beloit be without the ability to have all those food processors. And that was the big sell Dave made when we got that move. And then where would the downtown have been with that stinky sewer plant that was just never worked? So anyway, I just had to say that because I just, you know.
Councilor Duncan?
I just wanted to mention that this is another piece of the economic sustainability that we heard from the residents and when during the public input today. That's another piece of it, and I just hope that we continue as a council to look at that and hope that the staff can help us in helping that to progress. So, and then thank you for the hard work on that. So, appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12D is consideration of Resolution 2022-055, authorizing the city manager to submit a project incentive application to focus on energy for energy efficiency upgrades as part of the project C22-08, Biosolids drying, UV disinfection, and Wpcf upgrades.
So as I mentioned in the previous presentation, Focus on Energy offers incentives to businesses and communities who are undertaking energy efficiency upgrades. The Wpcf project includes many energy efficiency upgrades that were detailed in the presentation last week. 3 items that we discussed are potentially eligible for funding under Focus on Energy. First one being the high-speed turbo blowers, second being the UV disinfection system, and third is many variable frequency drives that are being installed. For those who don't know what variable frequency drives are, they change the electricity coming in to slow down the speed of motors to meet the operational need. And when you slow down the motor, you're using less energy. We anticipate funding, as I mentioned, of $50,000, which will be matched by Clean Water Fund for another $50,000. So $100,000 in outside funding for the project. And then I do have a memo here quick about the energy efficiency upgrades as part of the project. And I'll just go through those again real quickly. A lot of lighting systems, everything for lighting that's going in is being done in LED. Heating and ventilation. Some air handling units are being replaced with more energy efficient ones. Those were missed on the last presentation. A few notes on power reduction with the VFDs. There's 141 new motors that are being installed as part of this project. 90 of those will have variable frequency drives, and the majority of the remaining ones will be 2 horsepower or less, to where the variable frequency drive is not going to have much of an impact on the energy use. Some of the process equipment, the aeration blowers, that is the biggest energy use at the wastewater treatment plant. The new blowers are anticipated to save 680,000 kilowatt hours per year. That's a significant amount of energy. As I mentioned before, potentially up to $100,000 in savings. The aeration instrumentation and controls to control our dissolved oxygen. It's best to be at about 2 milligrams per liter, and currently we have a harder time controlling it, so we're running 2.5 to 3.25. So we'll be dialing down the energy the more we can control the actual dissolved oxygen. And then the UV disinfection system, we took energy usage into account as we evaluated those. The system we selected would use 69,900 kilowatt hours per year, where the other competitors were 119,400 and 144,500 kilowatt hours per year. We're replacing the anoxic tank mixers. The replacements will save 107,000 kilowatt hours each year. Digester heat exchangers will make the digester function better. We currently have trouble keeping the temperatures where we need them, and that's in large part due to the heat exchanger. So as we keep all the biosolids in the digesters the correct temperature, we'll get better breakdown of solids and more biogas production that we can then turn around and use in the boilers to heat the digesters. And that is the big pieces.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
I would like to make that motion.
Motion by Blakely,
A second.
Second by Duncan. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 12E, the city council may adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub E Wisconsin statutes to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, namely to discuss the possible sale of the portion of property located at 1801 Gateway Boulevard. The council may reconvene into open session.
Can I motion to go into closed session?
That's a move.
Motion by Levy, second by Forbeck. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're in closed session.
062, resolution approving an offer to purchase between the City of Beloit and Gateway Brewing Company, LLC, for the sale of 4 acres at the northern portion of the property, Lot 1 CSM at 1801 Gateway Boulevard, Beloit, Wisconsin.
Jen Hall will give a quick update on this item.
Good evening. Gateway Brewing Company has submitted an offer to purchase 4 acres at the northern portion of 1801 Gateway Boulevard. This parcel is directly to the south of their existing property at 1895 Gateway Boulevard. Gateway Brewing Company has stated the goal with the 4 acres is to construct a barrel aging structure that could also be used as event space along with a tap room, potential tap room. The square footage would be in the 5,000 to 6,000 range. The sale is for $10,000 per acre for a total cost of $40,000.
Excellent. Do you have a motion to approve? Motion by Levy. Second by Forbeck. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Item 13 is adjournment.
Motion by Levy. Second. Second by Forbeck. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you.
This is good, another good one.
You missed another beginning of a good doc?